We have
Thank you very much.
we have other questions. Yeah, so I think I answered Sister Noor's question. What was the wisdom behind not abolishing slavery as a matter of law immediately upon all society? Because basically, if you had abolished it altogether, you'd effectively what you had in the U.S., the U.S. South, and also even many places, in some places in, well, not northern states, but you had in the South, basically economic collapse, and it was bad. It was a terrible situation for Black people after they were freed. And you can read the history there. It was terrible. Even though they had their freedom, they still weren't given rights, right? And we would say this is why we need a moral and virtuous underpinning to how we deal with each other. Politics isn't the ultimate solution. Trying to force people to respect one another and love one another, with just like a ruler saying love one another, respect one another, that it have some effect, but really we need morals, ethics, virtues. We need a spiritual system, a cosmology. Who are we? Where are we going to end up? That we believe in the day of judgment. We need the brotherhood of Islam. This is why, I just say it straightforwardly. We need Islam. I would say we need Islam. And this really, it heals hearts. The prophets. Yeah. So Sister Noor, I'd say yes, definitely. It is to heal society from the racism and prejudice first. That's one of the wisdoms, absolutely. Why slavery wasn't immediately abolished. And also we should understand that slavery was something else back then. So it was something that was regulated. It was regulated by human principles, that you treated slaves as human beings. And that slaves had quite a bit of an opportunity to get themselves freed. I'm going into the fiqh and jurisprudence here, but for example, you have something that's called al-mukataba. Al-mukataba is a slave that says, okay, I want to gain my freedom. Let me pay you back and buy my freedom. This was something regular in Islamic society, where the master would be encouraged, okay, he wants his freedom, allow him to get a job, and he'll buy his freedom, right? This is very much known, right? It's a very popular thing. And there's a chapter in fiqh about this concept, mukataba, where you say the slave wants his freedom, he wants to be freed, and he buys back his freedom from the master, or the master can just free him. Usually the masters were encouraged to free the slaves, especially if the slaves were upstanding citizens, so to speak. Let's say the slaves were let's say they were craftsmen of some sort. They were be encouraged to be freed, or they had a skill, or they were scholars. They were encouraged to be freed. So many different ways. On top of the fact that slaves often would rise in the governmental ranks. They would be often the best, often the best politicians. Interestingly enough, they would serve in government cabinets. They'd be viziers. Very interesting dynamic. Very interesting dynamic. No. Yeah, so we have to, right? So we have to see through the name games as well, right? See through the name games, right? We have a modern day racial injustice, and they call it caste system, or maybe they have a different name for it in India. But I can bet you this: it's a terrible entity, the caste system, and they probably put a good name on it, right? And one of the things from what I understand about the caste system, it tells the people that on the lower castes, be good people and stay where you are. When you die, you move up. This is the caste system. So we wouldn't call it caste system. We call this total and utter injustice. We call this inhumanity. That you debase a people, you dehumanize them, and you tell them when you die, it'll all be better, and you have a higher level in the caste system. This is sick. We can be explicit. This is inhumane. No. So yes, as the brother Ghalib mentioned, alcohol, for example, was a thing that was prohibited in stages, right? Alcohol was first halal, right? Then it was made to be, you couldn't go to the prayer if you had drinking any alcohol. You had to clean yourself up first before you could pray. Then finally, the third stage was that Allah made it haram, right? So stages. And Islam deals with the human being in stages. So we talk about tadarruj. We have tadarruj and stages in everything. Right. No. So inshallah, we will stop here, inshallah ta'ala. We'll now make a dua for our brother, excuse me, Muhammad Kabir, as a young Bengali brother who was actually hospitalized at Lawnwood Center with cancer. So we make a short dua for him, inshallah ta'ala.